Krishna. So I welcome all of you for today's 6th session, part 1. We have come long way in our discovery of self journey. We began with, does God exist? Can we scientifically establish existence of God? Then we learnt about 3 ways of gaining knowledge about anything: Pratyaksha, Anuman and Shabda. And we studied how Shabda is the best means of learning about God. Then we studied more about this Shabda in the form of Vedas. Are Vedas not mythology? Do they not have human origin and have some imperfections in them? Or are they timeless source of perfect wisdom, which never changes, which never becomes outdated, which never comes into existence, which never goes out of existence? And thus Vedas were established as a bona fide body of gaining knowledge about matter, about spirit and the controller of both. Then we studied the Atma Tattva. Who am I? We established that we are not this body. We are spirit, soul. We are not human beings who are having spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings who are having a human experience. And we saw proofs of soul's existence: common sense, consciousness, intuitive understanding, near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, past life memories. So much scientific work done on this field. But there is some anti-material particle that survives after death, and that continues to go on in its journey further in other bodies. So that was science of soul. And we saw that soul is not God. Soul is infinitesimal, part and parcel of God, has characteristics of Satchit Ananda, eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. And then in the 5th session we discussed the substance and the shadow. That was on 4 levels, that discussion. Who remembers? What is substance, what is shadow? First level, the soul and the body. The soul is the substance, and body develops around the desires of the soul in a particular way. The second level was spiritual world and material world. This world is a perverted reflection of the original spiritual world. And then we discussed about spiritual happiness and material happiness. How we are searching for happiness that is free of any conditions. And that is spiritual happiness. We have spiritual senses and there are spiritual sense objects. When we come in contact with them, we become eternally happy. And that happiness is not having any side effects. In this world, when we try to enjoy something, there are always side effects involved. And we saw that there is tendency to do bhoga tyaga. We want to enjoy, and the same thing eventually becomes disgusting. And there is the chapala sukha. The quantum and the duration of pleasure is very short in this world. Although much is advertised, but very little is experienced. And we feel frustrated when that happens. So that is why we should seek spiritual happiness. Ramante yoginaha anante satyanande chidatmani iti ramapadena sau parabrahma vidhiyate. Ramante means to take pleasure in. Yoginaha anante. The great yogis delight in the supreme infinite. Ananta, the name of the Lord. Satyanande, and they experience true joy in life. Chidatmani, in full knowledge they enjoy. Generally we try to enjoy in ignorance. People get drunk and do so many things. They don't know. So, iti, therefore, Rama padena asau parabrahma abhidhiyate. That's why the Supreme Absolute Truth is called as Rama, the reservoir of all pleasure. Just like there is a reservoir of water, ocean, to which our tap is connected through the entire process of whatever Then when the connection is maintained, we get what? Like that, there is reservoir of pleasure, Rama, and you establish a connection with him. Then in your own small place that you are in, you get pleasure. And that connection we studied is established through sound. Sound, spiritual sound, which is categorically different from material sound. And that's why we studied the science of mantra meditation. We learned about chanting Hare Krishna. So when we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Through this sound, we are associating with the Supreme Lord. And thus, we can revive our original relationship with Him and become permanently happy. So that is the spiritual happiness and the material happiness. And then the fourth level in substance and shadow was spiritual relationships and material relationships. Everyone is trying to get rasa, pleasure. But that rasa is available in its purest form when we establish spiritual relationships. We know the nature of material relationships in this world. You scratch my back, I will scratch your back. If you stop scratching my back, I will stop scratching your back. That's material relationships. Because people have their own ego as their center, their own selfish needs as their center. That's material relationship. What is spiritual relationship? That doesn't mean you have to go to spiritual world only. In this world, when two people come together and they have a common interest and they have a spiritual goal, then such people can experience spiritual relationship with each other. And that can give them complete satisfaction. In modern context, vivaha, marriage, is nothing but it is based on expectations. My expectations and your expectations. We come with our NIC list. Needs, interests, concerns. And then we try and match them. Can you fulfill mine? Can I fulfill yours? Then let's get married. It's like a contract-based theory. And such a marriage in the first place itself is flawed. Because they are not coming there for a common interest. They are coming for a selfish interest. A common interest that is transcendent to their existence will keep them happy and together. But they don't have it. On the contrary, in Vedic culture, there is vivaha samskara. A strong impression is given to the married couple. First of all, that they are here together for elevating each other spiritually. And their bondage with each other has to be made spiritualized. Bonding with each other. So that is called establishing spiritual relationships. When God is the center of our relationships, that becomes spiritual. Like Arjuna had a relationship with Abhimanyu, his own son. Material spiritual. Arjuna was got married by Krishna himself to his own sister, Subhadra. We know that story, right? So that's material or spiritual? Spiritual. Pandavas, they were so tightly bound with each other, and Draupadi. Material relationship, spiritual relationship. Spiritual, because Krishna is the center of the relationship. So this is what we discussed. We need to छोड़ना नहीं है, जोड़ना है. We need to re-spiritualize. We have to overhaul our entire system of living. And we have to connect everything to God. Our food, our entertainment, our recreation, our family, our everything in life. When we connect it to God, it becomes spiritualized. When iron rod is put into fire, it becomes fire. Although it was originally iron rod. Similarly, matter that is utilized in the service of the spirit becomes spiritualized. This whole material or spiritual? What's your opinion? Spiritual, because it's being used for a spiritual purpose. Or this microphone, material or spiritual? This laptop, material or spiritual? Every single silicon particle is charged with Krishna consciousness in my laptop. There is not a single nonsense. Every molecule is utilized fully. This is how we spiritualize everything. It's possible to live like that. So this was the topic we had, substance and shadow. Utilize the shadow to attain the substance. Use your body, use this material world, use relationships and material even happiness, satisfaction to the senses that we give in such a way that you attain the eternal good for the soul. छोड़ना नहीं है, जोड़ना है भगवान के साथ. So that was our last session and we taught one very simple method for doing that connection, yoga. That is to chant God's holy names. By chanting God's holy names, we re-establish the lost connection of everything with Him. So whatever we are doing, this is the primary practice we should adopt in our life. All the 5 chapters we studied till now. This was a rapid action course. Now we are talking about the 6th chapter. The 6th chapter's title is, if God is one, then why there are so many religions? Very important subject. This topic we will study on 2 levels. What we know as Hindu, that's not the exact term. The actual term is Sanatana Dharma. We'll explain that term eventually. And there is Christianity, Islam, Jainism, and so many other religions. They are all bona fide. What is the co-relationship? And if I were to become a practitioner of any particular religion, what are the objective criteria based on which I should make my choice? Not sentimental criteria. Objective criteria. So that's first part of the supermarket of religion. Where should I subscribe for my practice of religion? That's first part of this discussion. The second part of this discussion is that most of us are practitioners of Sanatana Dharma, Hindu Dharma, so-called. But even in Hindu religion or Sanatana Dharma, we find so many contradictions, so many variegatedness and different people having different practices and philosophy. Just pull over there. Thank you. Make it back from there.
It's okay.
So, somebody is worshipping Durga, Shiva, Ganapati, Baba, Bua, Amma, Auntie, the whole gamut in even the Vedic culture. And then there are people who worship in various ways. Some are piercing their tongues, some are walking on fire, and some are chanting some mantra, some others are doing, fasting and this. And some say meat eating is allowed, some say it's not allowed, some say that is allowed, that is not allowed. And it seems quite contradictory within this also. And it's all confusing because an ex-person who generally comes to India, like a Westerner, he finds everything amusing. These people worship snakes, they worship cows, they worship mountains, they worship fountains, they worship human beings. They worship practically anything and everything in the name of God. They worship stones, they put some red oxide, that becomes Jagrut Devata after some time. And this is just too much. What the whole thing is about this whole variegatedness, and what's that one single common thread that binds us all together in its place? How can I know the system of this Sanatana Dharma? How does it function like that? So there are 2 topics. In the supermarket of religion, which one to select? And within Sanatana Dharma, what should be my path that I adopt? So that's the topic. Now, we have come a long way in our journey of self-discovery. And we are on the last leg of our journey. And I request you to really deeply contemplate on the truths that we are going to discuss. Think about it. If God really wants us to know Him, to love Him, and to serve Him, should He not make it a little easy? This is a very basic question. Why make such a confusion? Why have religions? Okay, fine, even if they are diverse religions, still why should they contradict with each other? In terms of their philosophy and also their practice. And often we see that religion, as many people in this modern times think, that it causes wars and hatred and envy and superiority, inferiority. And sometimes religion is also used as a tool to dominate over others by a certain class of people. In fact, Karl Marx says that religion is the opium for the masses. Right? So that just so that the masses don't become over-agitated about certain things, so we make them docile by giving them this opium. You know opium?
Yeah.
Opium, opiate, it's a drug. So they become kind of docile, and they don't create too much agitation because their lust, anger, greed is all kept under control. But religion, no religion, society continues. What's the big deal? Somebody may say. So therefore this topic is super important in our life. These questions might have rang in our head earlier also, but we never got a forum to discuss it out. Now, I will speak of three simple criteria, objective criteria, based on which we can choose our practice of religion. They are not sentimental criteria. Objective criteria for choosing practice of religion. Number 1, revelation of truth. The truth about God, truth about afterlife, truth about material nature, prakriti, how this creation takes place and what happens in it. Truth about the self, who am I? How much is the depth and the vastness of the information on these topics in any given religion? Is that an objective criterion? We study all religion and find out, okay, what is the level of revelation of God and His spiritual kingdom? And these other topics. That's an objective criteria. The second one is what is the standard of practice. I'll put that third. What is the motivation of the follower in his heart? Why is he following what he is following? There are very base motivations and there are some very elevated motivations. There are primarily 4 motivations why people practice religion. Fear, desires, they have a lot of material desires, duty, they feel duty bound, and love. There are 4 levels at which you practice religion. So again, an objective criteria, which religion is based on what primary trait? What's the motivating factor for the follower to make him follow? And the third criteria is standard of practice. In this, there are 4 pillars of religion. They are called cleanliness, truthfulness, kindness or mercy, and austerity. Ability to do tapas, denying the interest of the senses for a higher purpose. It's called tapasya. Temporary inconvenience for permanent convenience. It's called tapasya. So what is the level of that standard of practice? To what level do they go in cleanliness? To what level do they go in truthfulness? To what level do they go in austerity? To what level do they go in mercy, showing mercy to other living beings? Are these objective criteria? You agree they are not sentimental criteria? Now let us go one by one and study this topic.
Why cleanliness is necessary?
Oh Krishna. See, when things are cluttered, they are confusing. And when they are neat and tidy and clean, they are easy to deal with and happy to be with. We generally tend to think that cleanliness, in software company also there is cleanliness. But we are talking of cleanliness, internal cleanliness. How clean is your heart and mind? How much are you careful in avoiding impurities to enter in it? People, when they go in the train, they drink Bisleri water. Why? Cleanliness. Any germ can enter and then can cause havoc. And I can waste my time, money, and sickness for a long time. But they are not so careful about the type of literature they read. Those germs, they go and infect the mind. That they don't care for. So there is cleanliness at two levels. Internal and external cleanliness. And is very important. If we are unclean, shuchi means clean. Muchi means unclean in Sanskrit. We cannot understand God if we are unclean. The thing that destroys cleanliness the best is illicit connections with men or women. Mind becomes thoroughly disturbed and polluted. It just cannot think straight. And in that condition, one cannot think of God, certainly. Exact opposite of truthfulness is gambling or lying or cheating. When you are doing that, you cannot think of God. It's not possible. When you are untruthful. Because God is absolute truth and you have to approach God. To enter fire, you have to be fire, right? If you are not non-fire, you get burnt. So God is all pure and you have to be all pure to be associated with Him and realize Him. Same with mercy, kindness, compassion. That's primarily broken by meat eating. When we eat others' animal. It is not that vegetarianism is great. We will talk that topic later. But what should we eat? How we should cause minimum violence while for our survival. That's mercy aspect. And last aspect is austerity, tapasya. And that is destroyed by taking intoxicants or titillating the senses beyond the need. You lose your tapas, austerity. So these are very subtle but powerful principles. These are the 4 pillars on which religion stands. And if you destroy one pillar or damage it in this way or that way, then your practice is not wobbly. So that is what the topic. So all 4 are important. Cleanliness is also very important. We'll come to that. Now let's go. Revelation of the truth. For example, every religion agrees that God ultimately is a supreme person. Christianity says, O our Lord, Thou art in heaven, hallowed be Thy name. So who has name? A person. And who stays somewhere in the heaven? A person. If it is an energy, you don't have to call him any nomenclature of that sort. In Islam, there is mention of Ainun, the face of the Lord, eyes of the Lord. Vaj, which means face of the Lord. And we also hear about how God has made this creation with His fingerprints on it. That's another saying in the Bible. That Lord's fingerprints are there in everything that is made in this creation. So who has fingers? A person. So certainly all religions in a sense agree that God is not impersonal. He is person. He is Supreme Father. And if I have personality and He is the cause of me, then He must also have. In effect, whatever is sin, that must be there in the cause. But He is not ordinary person like you and me. His body is not made up of matter. And He is not limited by space and time. He is a spiritual personality. But when it comes to asking a little more detail about God, how does He look like? What does He do in the spiritual world? So if you go and ask any religion, other than Sanatana Dharma, they don't have clear understanding or in-depth answer for these questions. In fact, they get confused in answering these questions. Because Jesus Christ said, I have so much to tell you, but you don't have the strength to bear it now. But whatever little revelation, Jesus was self-realized God's messenger. Whatever he revealed, for that little preaching he was crucified. You can imagine how hostile these conditions in the society would be around, that such a vehemence is there towards even a little God consciousness to accept. So he says that, I have so much to give you, but you don't have strength to bear it now. Exact opposite statement is in Bhagavad Gita. Lord Krishna says, please repeat, Jnanam teham savidjnanam idam vakshami asheshatah yajñātvā neha bhūyonyat jñātavyam avashishyate. O Arjuna, I am giving you this knowledge, theoretical and realized, both knowledge, by knowing which nothing further shall remain to be known. It's an interesting statement. So, in terms of revelation of truth, who is God, what is Prakriti, how does creation take place, for example? Another question. So, God said, let there be light, and there was light. True. God said, let there be earth, and there was earth. God said, let there be water, and there was water. But that is very, so to say, simplistic understanding of how creation took place. But if you actually study Srimad Bhagavatam, it starts telling the 24 elements with which this material creation is made, which element comes from which element, and how the progressive unfolding of the creation takes place, and who plays what role in this entire creation. It's a very lengthy discussion. Cantos practically spent on the description of creations, how it takes place. Take for example, what does God do in the spiritual world? The general understanding is God is sitting there in the cloud, and for you heaven, for you hell. Heaven, hell. How? Will God be doing such a boring job? Is that all he has to do? What कुछ नहीं करना है? ऐसे जज बन के बैठे रहो यही करते हैं? Certainly not. What does God do in the spiritual world? And if you hear the descriptions given in Srimad Bhagavatam, what does he do? It's this amplitude and what level of information of their loving exchanges between each other, between God and his devotees. And some glimpse we get when Krishna comes in this world, with his mother, how he behaves, with his friends, how he behaves, with his friends, lovers, how he behaves. So very detailed information on that part. And interestingly, apart from all these discussions, how does the spiritual world look like? Jannat, heaven. What is it exactly? And what is God's form, by the way? God does have eyes, nose, whatever, but how does he look like? So you hear Brahma Samhita, Vedum Gwanantama Ravinda Dalayataksham Barhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpa Kotika Maniya Vishesha Shobham Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Vedum Gwanantam. What is God's favorite instrument? Not guitar. Vedum. Aravinda Dalayataksham. His lotus petal like eyes. Very long, elongated, reaching almost up to his ears. You have seen temple ladies? Big eyes. Barhavatamsam. He has a peacock feather in his head. Asitambuddha Sundarangam. His beautiful form resembles a monsoon cloud. It's bluish dark, but it is beautifully effulgent. When Prabhupada went to Africa, he was giving a lecture and he was telling that God has a form and he is black. And all the Africans became I hope. Very nice. Prabhupada said, not like you. Not like that type of black. Transcendently bluish. So, Shama Sundara. So in this way there are pages after pages of description of the form of the Lord. How does he look like? You have typical Vishnu Sahasranam. Shuklam Baradharam Vishvam Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vighnopashantaye. And the whole description of Sashankha Chakram Sakirita Kundalam Sapita Vastram Sarasi Ruhekshanam Saharavas Pakshasthala Shobhikaustubham Namami Vishnum Shirasa Chaturbhujam Meghashyamam Pita Kausheyavasam Shrivatsankam Kaustubhodbhasitangam Punyopetam Pundarikayataksam Vishnum Vande Sarvadokaikanaatham. And it is not just some poetic description coming from the fertile brain of some imaginative poet. He just felt like any description to be given. It is interesting to note that all these great sages that have appeared in different historical time zones and geographical zones have the same description of God that they talk about. Is that not amazing? It is not that they had email system or some data transfer from here to there. Whatever Tukaram says, Narsi Mehta says, some other fellow somewhere in Punjab says, Vaheguru, and whoever, whatever they are describing as their revelation of God that they have in their own heart, that description is perfect and matches with the same description that is being talked about. So they were not historically on the same time scale. They appeared in vast zones, 1,000-year gaps, and they were geographically also not close to each other. So how could they offer such a description of God? So we can just go on with that one topic, but revelation of truth. How far does the religion go in revealing the truth? And there is a simple reason for that. It depends on evolution of our consciousness. How purified is our consciousness, only that much truth we can digest. For example, in the childhood we learned 1 plus 1, 2. 1 plus 2, 3. 1 plus 3, 4. Now you ask that child 1 minus 3. You say you subtract a bigger number from a smaller number. That's impossible. But he goes in 5th standard, then he understands 1 minus 3 is minus 2. Oh, I never knew that one. And then you ask him, so what is root of minus 2? Oh, that doesn't exist. That's impossible. Then you go a little higher in mathematics, you understand minus 2 ka root is 2i. Imaginary number. And then he goes further ahead, and there is triple integration and all that complex algebra and complex geometry and all that stuff that he learns. In the beginning only you bring those 3 integration signs. 3s क्यों निकाले इधर? He may not understand anything of that mathematics, right? So as he grows, so grows his revelation of truth, right? Similarly, take for example, in terms of standard of practice, mercy. The topic of meat eating. Is meat eating allowed for a religious practitioner? Some religions have a standard that you can eat every single animal other than pig. And that's a restriction. Please know that for that audience. Some others have a standard that you can eat meat on every day, on Friday and not on other days. That was Christianity's standard earlier. They later on changed it. You can eat meat every day other than Friday. So they concessionalized it further. But the actual standard is you can't eat on certain day, and you certainly can't eat certain types of flesh. And if you ask Sanatan Dharma, it says that meat eating is a pillar of sinful life. And as long as we are violent to other creatures of God, we cannot actually develop pure love of God. Just like in a family, a father has got 10 children and one of the child is mentally retarded. So the other 9 children think that ये क्या कुछ काम करनी है तो मार डालो. You think the father will be happy? So same is the situation. When we kill animals and eat them, not our purpose. So for some of us, even this standard to hear will be too much. We say, how can this be adopted? How to adopt, that's a different story. We are currently discussing philosophically whether this can be a valid point in terms of revelation of practice or not. Because if the consciousness has a certain level, then the higher truth becomes immediately rejected. They throw away the religion along with God. Just like you throw away the baby with the bath water. So like that, people have a strong rate of rejection when the practice doesn't match their status of consciousness level, purity level. To avoid that rejection, spiritual advancement, religions prescribe different levels of practices. पहले ये करो, तो नहीं जम रहा है. ये करो, नहीं जम रहा है. Please ना तो करो, वो भी नहीं जम रहा है. इतना तो कर दो. It is like that. It's like a bargain with the fellow. Make at least limited progressive purification of your consciousness. And when the consciousness is further and further elevated, the person has nothing to resist. He feels that this is very wonderful. So that is about revelation of truth. So depending on the audience's capacity to digest the truth and to practice it, different religions prescribe different practices. And it is very logical. So in meat eating there are these versions I told you, religions, the standard of practices. And similarly with other practices as well. And what we are saying is not to discredit other religions. That's a very important point to understand. It is not to say that Christianity is bad, Islam is bad. We are talking in terms of the relative revelation of truths and making a personal choice about it. When Prabhupada went to America, he was asked, he got down at the London airport and some reporter asked, so, have you come to convert us, Swamiji? And Prabhupada said, no, I have come to make you a better Christian. And Christian means one who follows the 10 commandments. So are you following them? That's the next question. So in this way, this discussion is not in the direction of superiority, inferiority. It's a philosophical discussion on the basis of objective truths. How can we do comparative analysis of various religions and what should we be practicing or comfortable with? That choice we can make individually. Now, I'll give another example. In Islam, there are quotes that say in Quran, "Thou shalt not have sex with your mother and sister." Now that's too harsh. Now, who is the audience whom will you tell such a thing? Do you think Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Krishna is going to tell him, Arjuna, please don't have sex with your mother? Arjuna will walk out. He just can't even tolerate to hear such a thing. So what do you mean? Why do you have to say such a thing? Right? Because the consciousness level is so elevated, there is no need to discuss such a principle at all. Just like in dictionary, we have come, go, sit, eat, simple words in the main Oxford dictionary and the pocket dictionary. The words are same in both the places. But certain words like corroborate, amalgamate, they are not there in the small dictionary, they are in the big dictionary. Similarly, instructions that are of simple nature, love thy neighbor, do not covet another man's wife and property, do not tell lies, like that. This has got nothing to do with God yet. This has got to do with morality. You understand? First be moral, then be God conscious. That's the next level later. So these principles are being explained and one has resistance to accept this only. He is ready to shoot the guy who is teaching him these principles. That is the level of the audience. Where is the probability of revealing anything higher? And in this way, the discussion ends at a point where the sub-religious principles are only discussed, but actual spiritual principles are very briefly or scarcely revealed to the audience. There are quotes, no doubt. Love thy Lord with all thy heart and all thy might. That's an instruction by Jesus. So there are wonderful instructions like that, about chanting God's holy names or whatever. But then they are very scarce in the sense of. But if you start with Sanatan Dharma defines what is real Dharma. Please repeat. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti radhokshaje ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. Very beautiful definition. Savai pumsam paro dharmo. That is the best form of dharma for all mankind. Yato bhakti radhokshaje. That gives you love of God. What kind of love? Ahaituki apratihata. No motivations and no interruption in that love. Yaya atma suprasidati. The result of practicing such a dharma is that your atma becomes prasanna, very blissful. So this is the definition given in Vedic literatures. So we talked about revelation of the truth in terms of God, afterlife, what happens after death. For example, there were many mentions in the Bible on afterlife, reincarnation, and also man having multiple lives. So there was this king called Constantinople, if I am not wrong with the name, who made the amendments from Old Testament to New Testament, in which he says that remove those sections that give the follower a chance of a repeated lifetime of reformation. That will make them lazy in spiritual life. Give them only one life, and after this life, permanent hell or permanent heaven. What do you want? That's like, so it sounds like a very good strategy, but it didn't work. Because it makes God appear very cruel. Is it not? It's like God is puts up a head. So surrender. Do you? What if I have material desires? Hell, permanent. That's like unbearable for the follower. But Vedic understanding is even an ordinary father doesn't mind giving his son repeated chances to reform. Do you understand? So there is no such a thing called as permanent hell in our scriptures. Everybody can improve at any point of time he chooses to. And that's how broad-minded understanding is. So the point I was making is afterlife. There are many afterlives, it's not just one. And then finally the self. Who am I? Atma Tattva. So some religions say that soul is there only in human body. And it is not there in cows, it is not there in dogs and pigs. And they are eatable. They are all made for man's enjoyment. Oh, you go and see how much you can feel the presence of Chetana, consciousness. It's not that they don't have soul. Some religions progressively go ahead and say that there is soul only in male body, not in female body. They are meant for man's enjoyment. Oh, this is like going a step further in your hedonism, that's all. It's not progress towards God, it's more progress towards materialism. So in this way, Vedic literature say that Jivatma is sarvatra, he is everywhere. Even in one drop of water, there are so many living entities there. What to speak of air and fire and everywhere else. There are millions of bodies, people keep transmigrating from one body to another. So this understanding is very big, very broad-minded in terms of where is the presence of the soul. Then coming to the motivation of the followers. There are typically 4 motivations. Most people follow religion out of fear. That's true in India also. There are many factors that lead to success. And in case there is a factor called God, and I didn't take care of him, and if it didn't work in my business or life or marriage, why take risk? So, better make a contract where we do something about it and not land up in big problem. So there are people who do it out of fear. Like in our temple in Kunji Bihari, when 10th, 12th exams come, suddenly a big Bhavik Bhakta log, all bacha log, 10th, 12th standard children, they come, all of them, and you see their faces, praying for us. Naya paar laga do bro. This is my lifetime important matter. Please. So you may wonder how they became devotees suddenly. Then there is fear. You have fear and they want to make sure that things go well. We see some aborigines, they worship sun, they worship some mountain, they worship the thunderclap or the lightning bolts. They think this is God. That's their understanding of religion. And if you don't behave properly, it will come and eat you. Now it's a very lot. Of course, fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. But love of God is the end of wisdom. This is the beginning, but that's the end. We are supposed to reach there. So this quote is very famous, but that one is not known to many religions in this world. So we have fear as a very prominent factor. You better well behave, otherwise you see what God does to you. Kachumar bana denge tumhara. A very dreadful language certain religions use. So that's the motivation in the heart of the follower. That I'll suffer in hell, I'll burn in this and that, it's better I don't take risk. The next level is desire. This is prominent again. People have lots of material desires and they know that our endeavors are ultimately limited. How much can you do? But if you click in the cosmic lottery by ringing the bell of religion, then who knows, a huge potential may be bestowed as fortune upon you. So there are people, Om Jai Jagadish Hare Sukha Sampati Ghar Aame Kashta Mite Tanaka Om Jai Jagadish Hare. So what do you mean? God is some cosmic waiter we called upon by ringing a bell of religion, and then you give me your menu card, Hamari Mangi Puri Karo. Is that a relationship you would like to establish with God? Such a selfish understanding. Dhanarthi, what is that? Vidyarthi labhate vidya, dhanarthi labhate dhanam, putrarthi labhate putra, moksharthi labhate gatim, japet ganapati stotram, shadbhirmasai phalam labhet, 6 months result, warranty. Samvatsarena siddhincha, labhate nata samshaya. Wow, solid business with God. This is not the highest platform of religion, you agree? If somebody comes to you and starts praising you, oh, you are so nice, you look so beautiful, you are so cultured, and it seems your parents have given you such nice samskaras, and you look quite happy and healthy and wholesome. Can you give me 2,000 rupees loan? And you say, what? You get itna stuti kiya iske liye? Get lost. So similarly, many times people in the name of religion, this is what they are exactly doing. Desire. Not a very high standard. Wanting to fulfill material needs. It is best to have love. If not, okay. At least for desire's sake you go to God. That's better than not going to God at all. Another level of I love God, I practice religion. जैसे हमारे माता पिता ने हमारे लिए इतना कुछ किया है, तो हमारा भी कुछ फर्ज बनता है, उनके लिए कुछ करना चाहिए. So that kind of a duty type language. And there are people who cash on it. Don't forget what your father and mother have done for you. So, similarly, people are aware that the sunshine, the oxygen that I breathe every moment, the grains and the vegetables and the fruits, they are not created by me. Right? And I am simply upabhokta, simply going around enjoying everything that is already made in the nature. And there is someone who is supplying all this ingredients, so I better be grateful and dutiful towards him. So I should do something towards him. It's like a master-servant relationship, but not such a well developed. Duty bound. But the best platform of religion is out of love. How would you like someone to establish a relationship with you which is purely based on love? They love you not because you are anything. They just love you. It's not that they eye on your property or some other big connections that you have and other things, and then they love you. So this is why there are stories of Prahlad in the scripture. What was his love of God? His father was so anti-Krishna conscious. He practiced intensely his bhakti. So much so that he was tried to be killed. And he was saved every time. And eventually we see, what is the prayer that he makes to Lord Narasimhadev? He says, Yadi dasyasi me kama dvaram svam vardarshabha kamanam hridi asandroha bhavatastu vanevana. If you at all want to give me a benediction, O Lord, please give me one benediction. Let there be no material desires in my heart. Not a desire to make. Let my heart always erupt with desires for loving and serving you. So that's the benediction a devotee is asking. So in this way, there are these 4 platforms which are motivating to the followers of many religions. And it could even include Sanatana Dharma in it. No doubt about it. It's not that it is just condemning one another religion. It's our own self that which we practice. So we have to elevate our consciousness a little ahead, a step up in those levels. And then when it comes to standards of practice, how much clean can someone be? How much truthful can someone be? How much merciful can someone be? And how much austere, denying the interest of the senses for a higher purpose, can someone be? That also decides what is the caliber of that religion. We could go on with many stories in this regard. Sometimes we have an understanding of truthfulness. What is truthfulness? Truthfulness means to do the will of the Lord. Truthfulness doesn't mean being a big Satyavadi. That's being truthful, right? To give you an example, if there are traffic signals, you are driving your car and you stop at a signal and the signal is red. But you look, there is a police, traffic police, and he's telling you go. What will you do? You'll go. You won't tell the police, दिखता नहीं क्या ऊपर रेड लगा हुआ है सिग्नल तो भैया बंद पड़ा मेरे को पता है जाओ अभी चुपचाप. He may tell you like that. Like that, when Krishna comes in this world, he is the lawmaker. The morality laws of this world, such as be truthful, be this, be that, are all given by whom? God. They are like traffic signals so that people don't have accidents and traffic jams and while dealing in this world with each other. But if the Lord himself appears and he tells you, you do this, you can't tell him, but what happened to that one that you already said? I'm telling you, do this, that's all, that's truthfulness. That you are a law-abiding citizen. That's why Arjuna was hesitant to kill as a Kshatriya, because he was thinking, I have my respect and love for these people, how can I kill them? Krishna, kill them, they are on the side of Adharma. And what is morality now? To follow what the Lord says. Yudhishthira, when he was told that he should tell a lie, when Dronacharya asks you, is Ashwatthama dead? And Yudhishthira was a Satyavadi. Throughout his life he had never said a lie. And when Krishna told him, tell Bhima had killed an elephant named Ashwatthama. And Krishna told, when Dronacharya comes and asks you, is Ashwatthama dead? Tell him, yes, Ashwatthama is dead. That's all you have to say. Oh, Yudhishthira Maharaj was feeling very awkward about this. How can I say like that? That is not complete truth though. And that fellow won't fight and then he will die and all that. So when he was asked that question, he said, well, Ashwatthama is dead. And very softly he said, Narova Kunjarova. But I don't know whether he's a man or an animal. So, Mahabharata describes that the chariot of Yudhishthira used to fly above the ground, a feet above. They didn't need shock absorbers. But that's touched the ground at that time. And some people give an understanding that because Yudhishthira lied, that happened. The actual reason is no. Because Yudhishthira hesitated to follow instruction of Krishna, he had a devolution of facility. You see the difference of understanding? So this is level of truthfulness that we talk about. What is truthfulness? Everything belongs to God and everything has to be utilized in His service. So sometimes people say, well, Krishna did so many things, he is not truthful and he tells his devotees to do so many awkward things. Why can't he do things real simple and understandable? So people appreciate what he is doing. But why Krishna does what he does has another level in terms of his love for that devotee. He puts the पूरे material world के सारे नियम धागे पे बैठा हुआ in love for his devotee. So that is another exchange at a different level. We will see that later. The point is truthfulness. And this way, if you have objective criteria set, we can clearly see that of the varieties of religion that are prevalent in this world, Sanatana Dharma offers on all the three criteria the best option. Now we shall try and understand the term Sanatana Dharma. Very important term. The word Sanatana and Dharma. What do these terms mean? According to Vedic understanding, Dharma does not mean religion. It's the first shocking thing to know. Religion is a very inadequate word to express the term Dharma. Dharma means intrinsic quality of any substance which is inseparable from its existence. I'll repeat. Intrinsic quality of any substance which is inseparable from its existence is called dharma. Water is liquid. Sugar is sweet. Fire is hot. So you remove hotness or sweetness or liquidity, it has no existence. उसका existence ही खत्म हो जाता है. Dharma means that which upholds and sustains your very existence. You understand? So now comes the question, I am a living entity, Jiva. What is Jaiva Dharma? What is the Dharma quality that is inseparable from my existence? It doesn't matter whether I am in human species, whether I am Hindu, Christian, Muslim, whatever, atheist, whether I am a cat, rat, dog, whichever species. This quality cannot be separated from me. What is that quality? That is Dharma. You understand now? And that quality which cannot be separated from our existence is the quality that we want to love and we want to serve. This cannot be separated from our existence. You go in tiger species, there you will love someone and you will serve someone. You become a Hindu, Christian, Muslim, atheist, this quality won't go away. It will always be there. It cannot be separated from it. This is called as dharma. Now comes the next question, whom to love and whom to serve? Who is the perfect object of my love and service? Then the answer is, that's the Supreme Person, God. And in relationship to Him, you can love and serve others in this world. And that forms the basis of dharma. Now this dharma is sanatana. Sanatana means that which has no beginning and no end. This is another interesting term. Sanatana means that which has no beginning and no end. How old do you think is Islam? Islam, 1300 years old. Christianity, 2000 years old. Buddhism, 2500 years old. How old do you think is Bhagavad Gita? 5000 years. Actually it is eternal, but it was, Krishna says, na, imam vivasvate yogam proktaman hamavyam. Earlier I spoke this to Vivasvata. So that means it was current. Prabhupada writes in the purport many, 12 lakh years before in human society. So that means what? This knowledge is eternal. It never comes into existence in first place and it never goes out of existence. It always remains prevalent in human society. Sometimes it just gets covered over for a while, but it is never extinct. So other religions may have their beginning at certain point of time, but Sanatana Dharma has no such a beginning or end also. So that is why it is called Sanatana Dharma. So now the last part. If there are various religions and they are quarreling with each other, how am I to take it? There are some 8 principles that are common in all religions and they have no debate about that topic. Number 1, God is one and love of God is the goal of life. Every single religion agrees on this. There is no debate about it. Number 2, obey God's laws. God's laws are given in the scripture and you must obey them. Whichever scripture, Bible, Islam, Gita, doesn't matter. You have to follow. Service to God. You should all render some service to God. All agree upon this issue. Number 4, we have to return back to the kingdom of God. That also everybody is agreeable. No quarrels about that issue. Number 5, sin no more. No more. Give up sinful life. Number 6, glory of chanting God's holy names. Every single religion agrees on this topic. Christians, they have the rosary beads. In Islam, they have 99 names of Allah. In our religion we have is Japan that we do. Everybody agrees about this. Another one is sacrifice and renunciation of material pleasure for making spiritual advancement. Common principle in our religions. And lastly, approaching a spiritual master. We must have a spiritual master. So for Christians, that's Jesus and his teachings. So we have our gurus, as we call them, spiritual. Now, can you imagine on some of the most important aspects of religion, all of them agree? There is no quarrel whatsoever. These are some of the most fundamental truths actually to be agreed upon. What they disagree upon is the standard of practice. Okay? Now, when we say, I am secular, what is supposed to mean? I practice my religion thoroughly and I respect your religious practice. That is the meaning of being secular. But in modern times, in the name of secularism, what happens? You don't practice your religion, I don't practice my religion, you don't question me, I don't question you. That is secular. We are all cosmopolitan secular society. Now this is not secularism, this is atheism in the garb of secularism. If there is a school that says we are secular, they should allow a person who is, say, Brahmin family to come with his shendi and his tilak, and a Christian to come with his rosary beads or whatever their attire, and a Muslim fellow to come with their whatever. That's a secular school. Is it not? Secular school doesn't mean you don't wear any insignia of your religion. You understand? This is how the whole thing has become now, and what we are basically practicing in the name of secularism is atheism. And what happens to children then? We said fear is the beginning of all wisdom. You have to fear that there is some supreme authority whose laws I must follow. Otherwise, whole society will go to dogs. And we see that happen nowadays even in schools. And this way, we are actually becoming more and more kind. So in case we really claim ourselves to be religious or secular, we must practice some form of religion. And we should encourage this in our society also. We should respect another Christian or a Muslim because they practice their own religion very nicely. Not that we look down upon them, oh, he is fellow, outdated, very Gurkha and something like that. We don't have to laugh at them necessarily, or we don't have to condemn what they are practicing. We should appreciate that this person has his faith that he keeps sacred in his own heart. So that is proper understanding of secularism. So, I would just summarize. We studied today 5 things. Objective criteria had 3 points: revelation of truth, motivation of the follower, and standard of practice, which will help us choose our practice of religion. Whichever you feel, based on this criteria, suits your particular situation. And in Sanatana Dharma, we have all of these given at every single level of practice that one can adopt. Then we discussed the term Sanatana Dharma. We are not Hindu. Hindu is a nomenclature given to us by Afghanis who came from Afghanistan to India. They used to cross the river Sindhu and they didn't have Sa in their language, so that's called Hindu river. And the people who stay on the other side of that river is called Hindu. This word Hindu is nowhere there in Vedic literatures. It is not there in Bhagavad Gita. What is our identity originally? Sanatana Dharma. Another name is Varnashrama Dharma. So that's the identity that we carry. So it's a nomenclature that we are carrying forward, which is not our own original nomenclature. It's given to us by some other foreign invaders. And then we talked about Sanatana Dharma, the real identity. Sanatana means no beginning, no end. It's not like it appeared 1300 or whatever years back. It is ever existed. And it will continue to exist. And Dharma means the quality of the soul in relationship to God, which cannot be taken away, to love and to serve. And finally we discussed what is the meaning of secularism and what should we do about our religious practice and religious practice of others. We should encourage each other to practice our own religion and the commandments given there. And we should not, in the name of secularism, practice atheism. So these were the essential topics for the day, and we end here. Are there any questions?
Adi Tarwar basically. So you have it's mentioned that Bhishma's mother is a fisherman's daughter. So that's like long ago, and there's a fisherman. So fisherman means catching fish, and they might be consuming also. So do we have meat eating since then?
Yes. As I said, we will talk the topic very elaborately in next class. In Sanatana Dharma, there are mentions or even prescriptions given on meat eating, intoxication, etc.
We haven't followed the question in fact. Yeah?
The question is, we hear of Satyavati, the fisher woman, to whom Shantanu married. So it seems that in Vedic culture there are people like that who used to eat fishes. So why are we saying that Vedic culture is not having that practice? We are not saying that at all. We are just saying that in Sanatana Dharma there are various grades of followers, and their practices or standards of purity also are variegated. So it is not that everybody follows the same standard. Why it is like that and how it came to be like that, what is the condition, now we will see in the next class, very elaborate. But it is true that there were difference of those practices. And meat eating was allowed for a certain class of people. But those who have developed consciousness, and who want to really cultivate their genuine relationship with the Lord, usually would not practice meat eating. There are no such a thing for. Any other?
Yeah, one question, but something just opposite. Suppose we don't follow the Dharma. And
again, I'll mention this point. When we talk of Dharma, we don't mean religion. That's not our discussion at all. We cannot not follow our Dharma. This cannot be separated from our existence. We will learn and we will serve. It doesn't matter what. We'll get nationalism into picture and we'll make that as our ideology and lay down our life for that purpose. We'll get capitalism, communism, this-ism, that-ism, philanthropism, and we'll lay down our life for that purpose. If we don't get anything, we'll keep a dog in the home and serve him and love him and do his, abhishek and Adya Puja and everything, clean after him. Service we cannot give up. That is not possible. This cannot be given up. The only object can be changed. Whom we do that in relationship with. And the best person, as I said, is the Supreme Lord, who is the friend of all the living beings, and he is an all-perfect person. He is not a misconstrued ideology or an imperfect person. He is all perfect. And loving him and serving him will get this greatest essence. Just like when we water the root of the tree, everything in the tree becomes nourished. We don't have to take a spray and go on spraying, individually on the leaves and the twigs and the flowers and the fruits, and still you see the tree dies after all watering. Why? Because the water is not given to the root. So that we cannot avoid that.
But we will not avoid Dharma, that's right. Understood. But we can avoid God.
Dharma without God.
Human being.
So we practice humanitarianism. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
What if we don't? Yeah.
So is humanitarianism a perfect concept? Are we first of all human beings? How long do you think we will remain human beings? 70, 80 years? After that, what's your eternal identity? The soul. So what is the soul's identity? That's the question. Is it human? We are part and parcel of God. See, my finger wants to become happy. So when throughout the day the finger is doing so many activities, the hand is doing so many actions, brushing teeth, taking bath, putting clothes, feeding the stomach, and going and working in the computer in the company, job, and then driving a car. You ask the simple question, what is the hand getting? Is the hand getting anything? The hand is simply sacrificing this existence for the whole. But in return, the hand is perfectly happy and satisfied. So our situation is like that. God is the supreme whole and we are his parts and parcels. And he is independent enjoyer and we are dependent enjoyers. We are also enjoyers, but we are dependent enjoyers. And our existence is meant for sacrifice. And in that sacrifice, that's our dharma, for the pleasure of the Lord. we become happy. And this cannot be avoided by anybody. We will do this sacrifice for some other stupid fellow or stupid cause, if not God. That cannot be sorted out without it. So it's better that we find the right person and the right ideology to follow. Yes, you had a question.
Thinking that you had mentioned that Islam started 15 years ago, but I have also heard like even those who profess Islamism, they would say that it is eternal. So means on that aspect of eternality of Sanatana Dharma, everybody can
How do
claim.
they prove it that it is eternal? Because historically there is no record of this, say 2000 years any Islam existed.
No, I think you mean that the philosophy was eternal, it was revealed to Muhammad in 700 AD and so forth. But that the philosophy existed before that.
So what's the proof that
I'm thinking that whether it comes to a question of you really objectively pinpoint, because when let's say when in Bhagavad Gita it is said like 12, whether that revelation, because it's written in Bhagavad Gita, will take it as a fact. But I'm just seeing that reconciliation of everybody just mentioning
So
that.
if Islam mentions its revelation at earlier date, then that's a different story. There is no such a mention. And as far as Bhagavad Gita is concerned, we already discussed Shabda Praman is free from defects. It is not it's not self-serving philosophy that I am a follower of Gita, so you should accept Bhagavad Gita. The criteria I am mentioning is we can give some Pratyaksha Praman proofs that Dwarka did exist. And the artifacts that were found in the ocean prove that it was 5,000 years old. So at least in comparison, that it goes there, that there was Krishna and there was Dwarka. And that cannot be denied. But in general, every religion may have their own say about how they are the best. And we should respect that. It is not that we have to all the time be aggressively argumentative about this. Because it is good for that follower to have that as a stature, so that he will follow the commandments of God and make limited spiritual advancement. When it comes to choosing our practice, that is where we have to become whatever we call it as research oriented and find out what is the truth, what works for me. So we discuss this criteria for that purpose. So objective criteria. Yes.
You read a lot of books about people leave their material desires, like they find God like that. Is that the only way? Like if I left my house for tomorrow, I mean, there's a big problem there. Like, how do you they all just walk away from Journey Home or this autobiography of a yogi? They all leave, right? They all just
There is two types of paths. One is called Pravrutti Marga, other is called Nivrutti Marga. Pravrutti Marga means we have desire to enjoy this world of matter and we dovetail that propensity in a way that is prescribed by the scripture.
So
We enjoy in a regulated way the way scriptures prescribe. In that context, we actually enjoy the world of matter. Like, even for that matter, family life, even sex life, even Ayurveda, and so many things. Scriptures are giving you everything, how to do it right, how to eat food, how to sleep, how to bathe, how to everything. So that's called Pravrutti Marga. And there are some followers called Nivrutti Marga. See, the essential truth is that we have to one day quit this world and go to the spiritual world. Now some people feel that this is okay with me. If this place I don't belong to,
what about the people who are dependent
wait.
on
I'm not saying this is okay with me, and I, keeping this as a goal, will dutifully do all that I'm supposed to do in this world. Whether it is I'm a mother or a wife or a corporate company owner or I dutifully do all that I'm supposed to do, but never let go my principal relationship with God. That is what we want in this world. Like Arjuna. Do you think after hearing Bhagavad Gita he put on a saffron dress and went to Himalaya? He fought a bloody war and he became the king of the world. And he ruled for long duration of time. after the war. And he established dharma in the society. And he was a responsible man. He had 3 wives. Subhadra, Draupadi and Ulupi. Now that's quite a family life. And he had children. But he was such a pure person. When Urvashi proposed him, he said, "No, you are like my mother." That also goes to show what was his character. So in this way, he was a perfectly beautiful person, but his heart was sold out to God. And that is possible. And it is not that he hated his wife because she is not religious. Or he was not dutiful towards his children because they are in their teenage and they don't like to practice God consciousness. That's just a problem. So we have to harmonize all that we do around God. That will make us happy and everyone else. In fact, when you become a religious person, you will see, not religious, I would like to rather use the word spiritual. When you become a spiritual person, you will see people around you are watching you under microscope and telescope. They really scan you in and out. Every motive, every word, every action. Oh, I never knew Hare Krishnas do that. People will say to you as soon as you do something wrong. Or if you sometimes you are angry or upset, you are a devotee of God. You are not supposed to become angry like this. So they will tell you and you get more boiled. So they will purify you very nicely. So you better accept that as a truth and try and become as exemplary as you can in every single aspect of it. Of course, some of us who leave our homes and give our full lives for this purpose, that's a rare species. In our Brahmacharya ashram we have a board, invisible board. Endangered species do not hunt. So leave them alone. They will do some good work for the society. So that is very rare. It is like the school that you passed out from. How many school children from your batch joined the same school as teachers? No, most of them went into corporate world, business world, this world, that world. But is it needed that people have to give full time for teaching? Otherwise, who will train the successive generations in future? Similarly, many come to ISKCON, they get trained. Not all of them become part of the full-time missionary activities like the teachers. Very rare few. Most of them continue what their earlier path was. But they have harmonized it around Krishna. And that's what we expect all of you also to do. I am not a good role model for all of you, I have to agree. Your next role models are sitting here. Bhakti Mataji, Anu, Siddharth, Rajesh, and all this gang. They are sweet role models. You can better follow them. I am not your role model. I am only your teacher. I can only tell you the truth. But in due course, when you practice this, you will appreciate that this path really harmonizes everything. It's like a big jigsaw puzzle that becomes properly revealed to you. Everything fits here. And everything has its scope. Even sleeping has its scope. Even entertainment, picnics, music and relationships and all that has its scope. Talents have their scope. But it takes some time, training and practice to understand the complete picture. So we end here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.